President Isaias alluded to the intensive distortion and disinformation campaigns peddled in mainstream and social media on the event by external powers, Shah pundits bent on stoking conflict in the region. These did not emanate from genuine concern for Ethiopia. The scheme involved deliberately ignoring or glossing over the true and positive dimensions of the tripartite summit for cultivating consensus for enduring regional stability. Eritrea's core interests in attendant constant policies are predicated on fostering and pursuing an agenda of promoting stability, cooperation, and complementarity in the wider Horn of Africa, Nile Basin, and Red Sea neighborhood. Eritrea has indeed no interest whatsoever to destabilize Ethiopia. Mutual consultations pursued at various levels among the countries of the wider neighborhood. It is doubtful now whether envisaged protectionist policies will reverse the trend. The aspiration of the vast majority of the world's peoples is for a new international order based on justice, and that promotes fairness and the collective well-being of humanity, not architectures of confrontation under the rubric of bipolarity or multipolarity. Would be inappropriate to make premature conclusions. And while doing our homework, we must strive to foster constructive engagement with an open mind. External interventions and the proliferation of initiatives which essentially exacerbate the tragic situation must also come to an end.
በስምምነታችን መሰረት ከወንድም የሶማሊላንድ ህዝብ ጋር በትብብር ለመልማት ለማደግ የጋራ ሰላማችንን ለማረጋገጥ የሚያስችል መነሻ ሰነድ ይሆናል። ከዚህ ቀደም በተደጋጋሚ እንዳነሳ ነው እኛ ያሉን ሀብቶች የመጋራት የመካፈል በጋራ የመልማት ፍላጎት እንጂ ማንንም በኃይል የማስገደድ ፍላጎት የለንም ስንል የነበረው ሐሳብ በተግባር ዛሬ በአዲሱ ዓመት የመጀመሪያው ቀን ለመላው የኢትዮጵያ ህዝብ የሶማሊላንድ ህዝብና ለሰላም ወዳድ ህዝብ ለልማት ወዳድ ህዝብ ሁሉ የምናበስረው የምስራች ይሆናል።
Welcome back to Drar for Africa, your go-to source for the latest news and analysis on the African continent. Yesterday, a historic agreement was reached between Ethiopia and Somalia, brokered by the leadership of Turkey's president. This groundbreaking deal marks a new chapter in the relationship between the two neighboring nations and has significant implications for the entire Horn of Africa region. In this video, we delve deep into the details of the agreement, explore its potential benefits, and discuss the challenges that lie ahead. Join us as we unpack the significance of this momentous event and its far-reaching consequences. Let's begin.
Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has arrived in Turkey for talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The Somali leader will take part in the third round of talks aimed at diffusing tensions between Somalia and Ethiopia. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has also been invited by Turkey. If the Ethiopian leader accepts the invite and attends the talks, then it would be the first time that the Somali and Ethiopian leaders meet since Addis Ababa announced plans to get access to a port in Somalia's breakaway region, Somaliland. Now, relations between Somalia and Ethiopia have soured dramatically since January, when Addis Ababa signed a deal with Somaliland to get access to the Berbera port, giving landlocked Ethiopia access to the seas. In return, Somaliland says that Ethiopia agreed to give the breakaway region international recognition. Tensions have escalated between the two East African nations since then, drawing global attention. The spat has pushed Somalia closer to Egypt, and Cairo already had frosty relations with Ethiopia over the construction of a major dam on the River Nile, which would impact the flow of the river going to Egypt. In September, Egypt sent a ship loaded with weapons to Somalia as tensions between Mogadishu and Addis Ababa escalated to near war-like levels. However, one nation that has played a mediator's role throughout has been Turkey. Turkey has good relations with both Ethiopia and Somalia. Ankara has promised long-term investment in the Horn of Africa and sees both Ethiopia and Somalia as vital partners. Turkey has increased its interactions with Ethiopia in recent years.
The leaders of Somalia and Ethiopia agreed in a joint declaration to resolve their dispute triggered by landlocked Ethiopia's quest for sea access, the Turkish presidency said Wednesday. It said the sides agreed that the talks, which would begin by February 2025 and conclude within 4 months, would respect Somalia's territorial integrity. In January, Ethiopia agreed a deal with the breakaway region of Somaliland to lease a stretch of its coastline for a port and military base, prompting a diplomatic and military row with Somalia. Mogadishu branded the deal a violation of its sovereignty, setting off international alarm bells as the dispute drew in Ethiopia's long-standing rivals, Egypt and Eritrea. Turkey has been mediating between the two countries since July. Somaliland seceded from Somalia more than 30 years ago, but is not recognized by the African Union or the United Nations as an independent state. Somalia still considers Somaliland part of its territory. With a population estimated at over 120 million, Ethiopia is the most populous landlocked country in the world.
Leaders Abiy Ahmed and Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud shake hands and sign a landmark agreement aimed at resolving their long-standing dispute over Ethiopia's growing ties with Somaliland, which Somalia considers parts of its territory. Ankara played a crucial role in brokering the historic deal, which reaffirms both countries' respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has congratulated both countries on reaching a consensus on Wednesday during a joint news conference.
And throughout this process, their priority, their sensitivities, and their expectations were listened by us with great care. And with important contributions from both countries today, with the joint declaration text is now created. And this joint declaration is focused on the future and not to the past. And these two friendly countries which carry importance for us, their principles that they're going to build from now on is now registered. And with great efforts, I would like to congratulate both my dear brothers in coming to a common compromise, and I would like to thank them for their approach.
In one aspect, it's a conclusion because it stops on the differences that we had in the recent times. Ethiopia and Somalia are two neighborly countries, and they have mutual interests in cooperating together and building a prosperous future of both our two countries and our two people. We are very much grateful for efforts of Turkey. Somalia, as has been, will remain a true friend of Ethiopia for the future and the years to come, in order to that relationship to benefit our people. We belong to a region where peace and stability is the first priority for our people's lives. And we have common and mutual opportunities to develop together in our own interests. Somalia will contribute towards that, and we are ready to work with the Ethiopian leadership and the Ethiopian people to benefit the opportunities that we had in all aspects. As we said here, we have recognized that the sacrifices that Ethiopian forces made in Somalia within the African Union peacekeeping missions many years in the past. That shows how much our people are interlinked, and we will keep continuing on that. Besides that, Ethiopia and Somalia has so many commonalities than differences. Our differences are very limited. Our commonalities are very high. We will try and we will do everything that moves forward and benefits our both people in a peaceful manner. Our region needs our cooperation. The Horn of Africa is a very fragile, very volatile region which needs both Ethiopia and Somalia to work together in order to provide a mutual benefit for both our countries, our people, and the people of the region as well.
I believe that today's constructive discussions will push us into a new year with this spirit of cooperation, friendship, and the willingness to work together instead of against each other. Once again, I thank President Tayyip Recep Erdogan and the people of Turkey, as well as His Excellency Hassan Sheikh, for convening this meeting, also for concluding in a win-win approach. I thank you.
The leaders of Somalia and Ethiopia agreed in a joint declaration to resolve their dispute triggered by landlocked Ethiopia's quest for sea access, the Turkish presidency said Wednesday. It said the sides agreed that the talks, which would begin by February 2025 and conclude within 4 months, would respect Somalia's territorial integrity. In January, Ethiopia agreed a deal with the breakaway region of Somaliland to lease a stretch of its coastline for a port and military base, prompting a diplomatic and military row with Somalia. Mogadishu branded the deal a violation of its sovereignty, setting off international alarm bells as the dispute drew in Ethiopia's long-standing rivals, Egypt and Eritrea. Turkey has been mediating between the two countries since July. Somaliland seceded from Somalia more than 30 years ago, but is not recognized by the African Union or the United Nations as an independent state. Somalia still considers Somaliland part of its territory. With a population estimated at over 120 million, Ethiopia is the most populous landlocked country in the world.
Thank you once again, Excellencies. Thank you for marking this partnership and this historic agreement. This marks the end of the signing of the ceremony.
ميناء الحديدة هو ميناء مدني يخدم جميع أبناء الشعب اليمني.
لا نستبعد أن يتم استخدام ورقة تشديد الحصار على ميناء الحديدة كورقة ضغط على أنصار الله مقابل تخفيض الهجمات على السفن الإسرائيلية في البحر الأحمر.
يعني خلينا نقول ان مصر امامها تحدي كبير طبعا في ظل الازمه الاقتصاديه العالميه الراهنه. خلينا نقول كمان ان في ظل شح العمله الاجنبيه والموارد الدولاريه داخل مصر اصبح هناك يعني مشكله كبيره مع تاثر قناه السويس كاهم ممر ملاحي عالمي موجود حاليا في عبور السفن من خلالها، وده بالتبعيه طبعا هياثر على النقد الاجنبي اللي بتحصل عليه قناه السويس كاهم تاني مورد دولاري بالنسبه لمصر.
الحوثيين بتستهدف مش كل السفن، ما بتستهدفش كل السفن، بتستهدف السفن التي تحمل الجنسية الإسرائيلية فقط والسفن المتجهة إلى إسرائيل. غير كده أي سفينة تانية رايحة أي حتة تانية أو غير إسرائيلية فليس عليها أي تهديد.